Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Boom Boom Room and another round with my next guest, who is a very special, because I'm very honored to be able to do this interview. Believe me, growing up, watching the shows, I was a fan, and of course, just through the years, watching how he's progressed in his life, such an interesting life I would like to talk to him about. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you were growing up in the 60s, you had to be watching a couple TV shows, and one of them was the Monkees.
Yes.
And this gentleman was one of the original Monkees on the show, and God, for whatever reason, the last living member. So, ladies and gentlemen, my special guest, Micky Dolenz. Micky, thank you so much.
Hey, boom, boom.
hey, what a monkey! Wait, he said that. You made me think of it. Well, Micky.
Thank you. I get 25 cents every time you say
that. There we go. Now, Micky, I did. I tried to do my diligence and read up on you. And now, first of all, I didn't realize you were born in L.A. So you were born in L.A. March 8th. I'm March 4th. I'm March 4th member. So we're both.
Oh, very cool.
So we're both feces. I mean Pisces. My bad, Pisces. But what part of L.A. were you born?
San Fernando Valley.
Oh, okay, yeah, in the valley, sure.
Tarzana.
Sure, I know Tarzana.
Actually, in Tarzana, very famous Edgar Rice Burroughs country named after his character Tarzan.
That's right. That's exactly, yes. It must have been a heck of a time in the 60s to grow up there, the 50s and 60s to grow up in L.A.
Hey, Boom Boom,
yes, sir.
I'm told I had a great time.
Well, you say that. Okay, we're going to go right to that. That's the name of your book. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is.
The name of your book, I'm told I had a good time. So, well, let's go right to that. Then we'll go forward and back. So tell us a little bit about the book. What is it? It's a book full of your memories, your photos, your memoir. It's a memoir.
Photos. But it's a photographic memoir. Excuse me. It's not a lot of written stuff. I did an unauthorized autobiography a number of years ago. No, this is all photos that we found. And the reason I mentioned it is because it starts with me being born in Tarzana with my parents, of course. And they were the ones, of course, at that time taking the photos. But as soon as I was able to get a camera, I started taking the photos. So the majority of the book is the monkey years, of course. And it's also photos, essentially, almost entirely, photos that I took.
Wow.
And it's photos of the other guys. It's photos of the era.
Yes.
It's photos of the people we hung out with, like Jimi Hendrix and others. As you know, Jimmy was our first opening act.
Yeah.
In my show, I actually tell the story of how I sort of found him. He was already a well-established musician, but it was before the experience, Jimi Hendrix experience.
Right.
And I saw him in New York. Anyway, I tell this whole story, and then about how he became our opening act. And people, of course, think that's kind of strange, and it was to some degree. But he was an incredible man, very interesting. He was very quiet. He was a little shy, and not at all like his persona on stage.
Right.
But that's not uncommon in our industry.
Sure. Exactly.
My other good friend, Alice Cooper, of course, is like that. Alice is incredibly, very smart, very intelligent.
Yes.
But he's kind of quiet, and he's nothing like his persona, but we all know that. He's a handicap 3 golfer.
Yes. I knew he was a good golfer, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, I tell that story about Jimmy and others. I tell stories about our good friend Stephen Stills. I tell stories about seeing Elton John for the first time at the Troubadour. And then I sing songs that are appropriate to that story. So that's kind of the difference between a regular monkey show, of course, which I can't do anymore, because all my buddies have passed on.
Right.
But that's okay. That's what happens. And So I've started doing this show that is a lot of stories and songs. All the songs, of course, always. All the big hits. And I always do those. And then I pepper the rest of the show with these stories about some of my friends of the time. And then, different songs. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and to a showbiz family, if you were going to go there with your question.
Yes.
And so I kind of followed in my father's footsteps, frankly, and my mother. They met doing a play here in Los Angeles and Hollywood, and so I kind of basically followed in their footsteps. I thought everybody's father was an actor,
right?
But when I would go to see Daddy at work, it would be on a set where he'd be riding the horse and get shot and fall off, and there's him bleeding, that fake blood. And so I thought that was normal. That was, what Daddy did. And so, that's how I eventually got into the business. Even before the Monkees, of course, you may have heard of a series I did called Circus Boy, and that on NBC.
Yes.
And my parents would have said, I guess, "Hey, there's a audition for a pilot. Do you want to go?" I think originally, the first time they asked, I said, "No, I can't. I got a baseball game."
Yeah.
So, but I ended up going and got that series, and 10 years later, I got auditioned for the Monkees, of course, and got that, and of course, the rest is history.
Yeah. I loved LA. I did. I loved it. I thought it was a great quality of life. When you see the sun 300 plus days of the year, all day, every day, no rain, no clouds, no humidity, man, that's a hell of a life, right? But anyhow,
that's what we say. That's the local joke is you go outside in the morning. Oh God, another crappy day in paradise.
Right, exactly. but you pay for that. That sun ain't
72 and clear.
Yes, but Mickey, that sun ain't for free. That sun ain't for free. We pay for that sun. It's just like I just Santa Monica near the ocean. Pay for that water too, the view of it at least.
Yeah.
But anyhow, again, the date for this show is October 15th at the Robbins Theater.
Yeah.
So for anybody who gets your tickets. But Mickey, then you had your own band, Mickey and the One Nighters, and you were the lead singer for that?
Yeah, because it was one night.
That's it. I love that. I love that one. The one night. I thought it was because all the girls that go by, the One Nighters.
Yeah, right. No, I did. It was a cover band, like all the other bands.
Yeah.
This is before the Monkees. And I tell that story, actually, and I do a song that I did in the cover band that actually turned out to be my audition piece for the Monkees. And so I tell that story and then sing the song, but you don't have to come to the show if you want to know what it was. I was in a cover band, rock and roll, like everybody was. In fact, I remember talking to Ringo in the early days and saying, and we were talking about it, and I said, I was in a cover band before the Monkees, and he said, the Beatles were a cover band too. And they were. Initially, everybody was.
Right.
That's what you did. And then eventually, of course, they became
who they were.
Beatles.
Right.
And I do a few Beatles songs. I tell stories about going to England and meeting the Beatles, going to sessions at Abbey Road Studios.
I don't know about you. London's really becoming one of my favorite cities in the world. London is spectacular.
Me too. Yeah, I lived in England for 15 years.
I read that. So what brought you there to live there? What brought you there? I mean, obviously, the business.
Well, initially, it was a play.
Okay.
To act in a play,
right.
A musical. And then I got lucky because I was already into directing and producing TV and commercials and stuff. This is just after the Monkees. Mm-hmm. But I had been in the business so long by then, since Circus Boy, that I was looking for other things to do, and I wanted to direct and produce.
Yeah.
And I went to England, got lucky, I got an agent, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, I'm working at the BBC, and then all the other English television and film companies, and doing commercials and doing this and that and all. And I stayed 15 years and did nothing but direct and produce television shows. In '86, of course, came back to do the reunion, the Monkey reunion tour in '86, which was huge.
Right.
And I've been here since. But I love it. I miss it too.
Yeah.
Miss England.
Well, now it's funny you talk about 1986. MTV screened the entire series, The Monkees, which brought like the new generation that wasn't that may not have heard of you or didn't know of you. They were introduced to the Monkees because MTV brought back the show.
I guess the monkey part of my career, absolutely. But I'd only come back for the reunion tour.
Right.
It was only initially going to be about 12 weeks. That was it.
Right.
12 weeks or something.
Right.
One summer. And I came back and stayed, and I was still on tour 3 years later.
How about that?
Was,
yeah. You talk about playing the Troubadour. I went to the Troubadour there. That's a great joint, man. It's the history of that place. Yeah.
And the show I did at the Troubadour,
right.
I did a show just recently at the Troub, and I did it to benefit my favorite charity, which is Make-A-Wish.
Oh, beautiful.
And
that's great.
We did a wonderful charity show for Make-A-Wish, and I got a CD, if you don't mind a shameless plug. I got a CD of that live show coming out pretty soon, as a matter of fact, for Christmas. And that's the show that you'll be seeing at the theater is this show that I did at the Troubadour.
Oh,
and you're right, incredible venue. The people that got their start there.
Yes.
Elton John,
yes.
I talked about him.
Yes.
Linda Ronstadt, Neil Diamond, the Buffalo Springfield.
Right.
Did
the Eagles?
The list goes on and on.
I think the Eagles did too, or no? Did the Eagles? I think the Eagles might have.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
Well, they were Linda Ronstadt's back.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's right. Who would have thunk it, right? You're right.
Over the years, I've discovered that people love the stories. And
all about the stories. All about the stories.
And like I say, I tie them to a song. All the stories have a punchline, as it were. And the punchline is the song. And people love it. I'm getting very, very good reviews, touch wood. You can expect it's not all just monkey material, but it is all the hits.
Right.
Because I also learned over the years, people want those hits. And I give it to them, and always
beautiful.
have.
Beautiful.
I've always made sure that everybody expects Clarksville and Believer, and Pleasant Valley Sunday and Stepping Stone and Daydream Believer.
Right.
So I always do those in their entirety. I don't do medleys.
Yeah.
And so that's basically it. And of course, video. Got tons of video of me and the Monkees and all these stories.
Hey, Mickey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What's it like have hundreds of females screaming and running after you down the street? Is it scary?
It's me chasing them. No. Well, it was not having enthusiastic fans, but as soon as you have more than 20 or 30 people chasing after you for any reason, it's dangerous. Just the weight of their, their presence. It's just the physics of it, if you will. And so that was scary because they were very enthusiastic, but at a certain point, you couldn't stop the flow,
right.
And just the weight of all that can cause a lot of damage to you and to them, and also to the fans. You've heard horror stories about it, but it's kind of true.
And one of the things that I read that your first public performance when you were like 10, 11 years old, first public performance was on stage down here at the Kennywood Park in Pittsburgh. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yes, you're not far from that, right?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Kennywood's right down the street.
Yeah. Hour and 15
And
minutes.
so that was your first public performance?
Oh, my gosh. Yes, it was. I was on a promotion tour for Circus Boy. And I guess the studio, we were going across country. Now, this series had an elephant in it. I don't know if you know. I was a little kid in a circus, and I had a pet elephant named Bimbo. And how's that for? And I had this little elephant named Bimbo, very cute little baby elephant. And I guess they decided that they were going to send me and the elephant across country by train, because you weren't going to get an elephant on a plane at that time.
Right.
And so we went across country on one of those big Skyliner trains, and we stopped across country. And we stopped in Chicago, we stopped in Pittsburgh, and then on to and New York. But we got to Pittsburgh, and they had said to me, "You're going to go at this place, Kennywood Park, and can you do anything? There's a little stage, and you're going to greet all the fans, and the elephant's going to be there." And I said, "Well, I play guitar." At the time I did, and I knew a couple of little contemporary songs like "Purple People Eater" and "Gonna Sit Right Down and Write Myself a Letter," and things like that. And they said, "Well, listen, there's a little 3-piece band that works on the stage there, and you want to sing a few songs?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And so I worked up some stuff. I have the tape of this. It's actually quite cute. And I got on stage and I sang my little songs with this little band. And then the elephant came out and with the handler and did tricks. So my first gig, basically, Boom Boom, was opening for an elephant.
Wait, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And you'll never forget
That's
that.
the big time, baby.
Oh, yes,
That's the
yes.
big time. How did you get the name Boom Boom?
Well, Mickey, I got that nickname, but my father, who was a fighter in the 30s and 40s, my father went to New York in 1939, and his first fight at the Broadway Arena in Brooklyn, the promoter said to a writer, "Look at this guy, keeps coming, throwing punches, boom, 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 all the time." Next day it was Lenny Boom Boom Mancini. So since my father, his whole career, right? So since I was a little boy, I was Baby Boom, Little Boom, Boom Junior. You know, I was always Boom Boom long before I was a fighter, Mickey. Long before I was a fighter. But the funny thing is, thank God I had the style of fighting that I had, because I wanted to be my father. He's everything I wanted to be as a fighter, as a man. It was an aggressive style, kept coming throwing punches. But as he says, I was a little more scientific. I like to make him miss once in a while, you know. But that's how the nickname came about. My father got that nickname in 1939, and it has stuck with him and me my whole career. And I'm sure, like yourself, I've gotten letters from like Europe and Asia that said "Boom Boom USA," and it got to me. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? That the power of a nickname, right? That you can get something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was unbelievable. So yeah, that's how the nickname come about.
Very cool.
Yeah, yes. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to definitely try to come out to that show, October 15th. I'd love to try to get there. Definitely love to try to get there and meet you in person and hear and have you regale us with all the stories. God willing, we'll meet down, certainly the 15th, but more, if not then, somewhere down the road. Take care of yourself. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.